So what are we doing? We are manufacturing cryogenic tanks for Ariane 5 launcher and associated equipment. I'll come back to that. Our customer is Ariane Group. There was recently some reorganization between Ariane Group and Arianespace and so on. I will not detail that specifically, but so we are selling the product to Ariane Group, who is integrating the complete Ariane 5 launcher, and Arianespace is in charge of selling to satellite operator the launchers. And we were created in '88. A turnover about 50 million euros and around 160 people. And we are, the factory is in Les Mureaux site. So Les Mureaux is the integration, so it's belonging to Ariane Group. And it is the integration of the main stage of Ariane 5. So we are located there. You see that it is close to La Seine. And this is because the main stage is something like 35 meters long and 5.4 meters diameter, and a bit too big to go on the road. So this was really from the beginning. The implementation on Les Mureaux was done so that we can send the products by the Seine and not by road. And so we are a factory inside the complete Ariane Group site. And we deliver to the integration building, which is close to ours, the products that we manufacture. Part of our product is also going to Bremen. What we are doing now is the upper stage. So the hydrogen tank of the upper stage, which is sent to Bremen because it is Ariane Group in Bremen who is in charge of integrating the upper stage. And we manufacture the main stage of the tank of the main stage, which is integrated in Les Mureaux. In the launcher, all the parts are manufactured all around Europe, and everything goes to Kourou, where there is the final integration before the launch. So the upper stage, the satellites, of course, the main stage and the boosters are separately sent to Kourou and integrated there. So you can see that it's not small products, and we had very tough issues on that. So how do we manufacture this? We first have a phase of welding. We receive panels and bulkheads that we weld together to make the main tank. And then we insulate. I didn't mention, but I think you are aware of that Ariane 5 is working with hydrogen and oxygen at liquid stage. And to maintain that liquid, we need to have cryogenic temperatures. We are at 20 to 90 K. And so we need a very good insulation, of course, so that when we fill the launcher and then during all the mission, the hydrogen and the oxygen remain at liquid stage. So the insulation process is a quite a unique one. You see that we apply insulation panels on all the surface of the tank. And then we have equipment integration, so different device for the mission that we implement, which are done at the final stage of integration. So why did we start this famous adventure with Maris and with the theory of constraint? We had beginning of last year very high constraints because we needed to meet the customer requirements. We were not on time. We had a capacity of production which was around 6 to 7 ranks per year. And in fact, we were more at 5 ranks, and it was really painful. And the demand at the same time increased at 8. So we were really facing a difficult issue. Just a bit of history. When we were created, so we are a subsidiary from Ariane Group and Air Liquide. Before 2014, there was not much difficulties for Ariane market. And then new competitors came on the scene. and we had to answer to face the competition. So there was the first attempt to increase the performance of the upper stage. So this was A5ME program, which was finally cancelled because it didn't answer to the market. And in 2015, we were refocused on production, on RFF production. With different internet changes, as Philippe mentioned, there was a high turnover in the board, and then I was appointed at the end of Eurocryospace. And we had really to do something because we were absolutely not meeting the requirements. So this is where we decided to launch CryoBoost, or we called it CryoBoost. This was a continuous improvement project. So just very shortly a theory, I think that Philippe or the TOCPA team may be better to explain it, but what did we start as a process? So the first point is, of course, to identify the system's constraints, then to decide how to exploit it, and then when it is decided, to go there. And to have the company right behind the decision and the process which takes place. And then, of course, we can elevate the system constraint after solving one point after the other. And one thing is important, I liked really this sentence, because do not allow inertia to become the system's constraint. This is a very important point. Because you can see that when you release, I wouldn't say the pressure, but when you release the management surveillance and the objectives, inertia starts to come again, and then you may ruin part of the efforts you made previously. So this is really an unending story. At the end of the day, there is also one time, and this is what we did, where you decide that you choose where the constraint is. You keep it under surveillance, but you are at the end of the story compared to your objectives, of course, and then you can decide to let the system go. So what did he do precisely? We have been chasing the bottlenecks. So this is exactly the goal story. And what we can see here is that our bottleneck changed many times during the process. First one we identified was the welding machine for the tank. It is still a bottleneck, but it is under surveillance now. Then we found that there was a second bottleneck, which is the incoming quality inspection. And the third one, which was the X-ray control of the lines. I didn't mention previously on the slide, but we manufacture the tank, but we also manufacture the lines, cryogenic lines that we have on the tank and in the engine. It's a small device, but can also induce a lot of problems. So what did we do with the welding machine? We had a takt time which was around 38 days at the beginning, and the objective was to reach 27 days. So we did several actions, and at the end of the day, you can see here that this is the line of our objective. The different in the graph here, you can see the different phases of manufacturing. So the green one is the welding. Then we have the insulation, which is the red one, and equipment, which is the blue one. And you can see here the evolution of the different, on the takt of the different phases. You can see that now we are very regular on the welding compared to what happened previously. And you can see also that we have some evolution in the other parts, in the other integration steps. And I will come back also to that. So what did we do to put the bottleneck under control? And here it is very interesting because when you identify a bottleneck, and I just come back on what Philippe said, you identify the bottleneck, you know that it's there, but it can be very difficult to know what to do, how to handle that. And it is where the help of Maris was very important, because they provide us the different ways to solve the bottleneck. And you can see here that we've been applying different techniques depending on where the bottleneck is and what is the challenge behind it. So for this one, we were losing time. We were basically losing time. You can see here the process. This is just an example of the process of what was done. So we had some preparation, we had the welding, we had different controls, and many phases following one after the other with different people. And it was clearly not coordinated. We had a loss of time between the phases, and not so much communication between the operators, controllers, and so on. And we were really losing time there. So there we implemented the critical chain technique, of course. So the objective was to decrease the time which was lost between the phases. And for that, we decided to use a mascot. So this can look a bit strange, and to be honest, when we decided to do that, I think that the people in the workshop started to see us as the management has gone completely crazy. But we did it with the management was really in line on that. So this is an object. It was a panel. In fact, we decided it in 2 days. So at the first, we wanted that the mascot was a nice thing and so on. And at the end, it was just a panel with some mention. But this is very powerful because, in fact, the mascot was put at the phase that was on the critical path. And it was, the communication was done in all the workshop. When a guy has the mascot on his, at work, when on the work he's doing, it is the critical path, you must not disturb him. And so we were really, how to say, very strict on that. The management, we went on the workshop regularly, all of us, all the team, to make sure that the rule was respected, that the guy that had the mascot was not disturbed, that the company understood that this was the critical path. And after 2 or 3 days, they started to understand the process. And when the one that has the mascot has finished the work, he gives the mascot to the following one. And it is physical. That's not I call him and I'll tell him, okay, you can come now, the work is done, it's your turn. It is I try to I find the guy, I give him physically the mascot, and then I'm sure that he's going on with the following task. And in fact, this is very powerful because we found out afterward that there was no time lost between the phases. And this is part of how we were able to meet the takt time. So in the meantime, at the same time, of course, we had to observe because we wanted also to have a schedule which was reflecting the reality of the workshop. So this observation was a bit tough because, of course, we had to look at what were doing the people in the workshop to make sure that we had a task which was really the focused duration. So we were able, with that, to reduce the planning. And at the end of the day, we also put in place a fever chart to monitor the tank execution. So you can see here that we have different fever chart. And now we monitor the schedule using the fever chart for all the products we have. And when we see that one product starts to use too much buffer, we put in place the right actions to recover the time. So at the end of the day, you can see here that we've been now stabilizing the production rate, and we met the 8th rank per year. That was our objective.
She keeps forgetting to say they also went from 3 shifts to 2 shifts.
Yeah, that's right.
At the same time.
Well, we were aware that the 3 shifts was not really the solution because well, you know all that when you don't have all the support team in the workshop, it makes no sense to have the people working, and we had a lot of lost time at the moment. But yes, that was. Second bottleneck was the incoming quality inspection. So here it was also important because when we made this diagnostic, once again you see a huge amount of work, and you just wonder how can we deal with that. We had a huge work in progress at this stage, and you see here the number of inspection packages that were pending at that time. So here we used other techniques. First one was the 2-for-1 rule. So this rule is just dealing with when you have too much work in progress somewhere, you stop launching additional work. And it was something that we discovered that was happening very often in the factory. Because, of course, when you start to have a lot of work at a bottleneck, but then the following steps, they have less work. And so they try to launch additional work in advance. Instead of saying, I don't have so much work, how can we do that? And so what we did is that we forbid all the following steps to launch additional work, to make sure that we were identifying people who were underloaded, and the people who were underloaded, we put them on the bottleneck. So we had to reassign inspectors from other sectors to this one. And in a few weeks, we were able to decrease significantly the work in progress. And well, we also decided to focus the people by typology and to gain autonomy and efficiency at the same time. This one I want to make a comment because it's also something which is very interesting. At the beginning, of course, you need to move people. So the guy working in one sector, you need to put it on another sector. People are unhappy. His boss is unhappy. The guy doesn't understand what's requested and so on. And here I would say one thing which is important is really communication towards the team, so that they understand really where you want to go and what's the objective. And when people start to understand where you want to go and what is the objective, of course they start to accompany the movement. Of course, that's normal, but they even anticipate. And now it is a few times that we see. Of course, that this is fluctuating because it depends on the deliveries that we have, mostly suppliers level. But people on their own now, when they see that there is too much work in progress, they reorganize nearly spontaneously. I mean, there is no specific action, at least at my level or at the level of management team. People realize that there is too much work in progress, and they reallocate the resources naturally to decrease this work in progress. So this is very also important because when people understand, then they start to be more autonomous on the process, and this is also a great success for us. Third bottleneck. So this was the X-ray control of the lines. Here again. A huge work in progress. So here again, we had to add extra capacity from other departments, and we had also to schedule better the work. So about the same as the previous issue, and you can see here that we now are very low in the work of progress, and it's the same. As soon as we see that the level of work of progress is too much, we take immediately the actions to decrease it. So at the end of the day, we were able to increase our throughput by 25%. So you can see that in the last year, we've been able to deliver 8 tanks And here also, I want to mention that we were even amazed ourselves of the results. And this is something that is very powerful, because you can start to see the results quite shortly when you start, when you put the actions in the workshop. And it's also motivating very much the teams. Because at the first time, when you start to observe the people, when you start to say, okay, you will have a mascot and you will have to put it from one person to another and so on, they don't really understand, and it's a bit difficult. And then when they see that it works, when they see that the delays are decreasing, that the customer starts to be happy, that we don't have an email every 3 days to say that we are still late and so on, they really start to understand and to go on and to go on with the process. And so this is also very motivating for the people. Of course, now we have additional bottlenecks because it moves. So it's a non-ending story, as we mentioned, and we are going on with the process in the different areas of the factory. But at the end of the day, what we can say is that we really had results in a few months, and with, to be clear, really nearly no investment, saying we didn't modify much the machines. We increased a bit the pressure on the maintenance, because of course when you have a machine that is where there are some dysfunctioning or anything, you need to solve it. So of course that means that you need to keep the bottleneck under surveillance, and it is also something that has been communicated in the team. When there is one machine which is on the critical path and there is something malfunctioning or anything, then it is the priority of all the company to put the right energy on the bottleneck. And at the end of the day, we were able to increase the throughput by 25%.